of course, Mike can't stand dates. That's why he's single.
On vibes, this meal is like a C+.
And so his meal, he gets a C+. In comparison, Mr. Mike's meals is cheese puffs, eaten from a bowl with a spoon. There it is.
This is a brain rot special.
Tia Matic cooking in the basement.
Coach Greg, in today's video, we're going over Tristyn Lee's full day of eating, his diet to maintain 3.6% body fat year-round. Now, the part I like most about this is that Tristyn asks Mr. Mike, the man who has arguably the worst bodybuilding diet I've ever seen in the history of mankind. If you've seen his diet, you know what I'm saying. Essentially, he eats cereal, Gatorade, 4 pure protein bars in one meal, 5 slices of bread a couple times, and cheesy puffs, and a few pre-prepared meals, and that's his diet. And so, Tristyn Lee asked Mike to critique his diet when it literally should be the other way around.
But what if I told you that today I brought in one of the world's leading specialists in looks maxing, getting canceled, and apparently nutrition?
I would say that this is a joke. This is AI, that this isn't real. I would say, why would you bother? Is this candid camera? It's a joke. At some point, you'll take out the cameras and say, you actually thought that we cared about your opinion? I've never tested anyone as low as this so far. Really? Tested? Oh my God. What are you? And so Tristyn is the leanest body fat on any bodybuilder ever tested. He's stage lean year round. His quads are feathered, his hamstrings popping out. There's no fat on him anywhere, but yet he says he doesn't want to compete because he wouldn't want to go through all that dieting. Bro is constantly on a diet. The chart bottoms out at 4.8% body fat at 50, so 13.6, so roughly 3.5. I don't think that's 3.6%. And so Mr. Mike has never been as lean as Tristyn Lee in his entirety of his career. Even when he sets foot on a bodybuilding stage, he's not lean as Tristyn in the off season. And so isn't it ironic that he would get Mr. Mike to critique his diet?
So meal number 1, this is my pre-workout meal, and I'll typically eat this around 3:30 or 4 a.m. because I get up at 3 a.m. like an absolute psychopath.
Yeah, I have to agree with Tristyn Lee. Getting up at 3:30 in the morning for meal 1, it is kind of giving off psychopath behavior, but at least he isn't an actual psychopath like the man critiquing his diet.
Got the protein in there to hit the protein goal. Got the potatoes in there to get your carbs, wake you up in the morning. Cucumbers, I like to have at least 1 penis-shaped food typically per meal.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be expected. Mr. Mike saying he eats penis food, shaped food, whatever each and every day. And so what is his critique? Yeah, vegetables and potatoes and protein from meat is a good meal. Everyone knows that. It doesn't take rocket science. You don't need a master's in kinesiology to look at his meal and think, yeah, it's probably good.
The fiber and micronutrients and all that stuff is really, really good for you, and will also slow down the digestion of the potatoes and the meat, so that by the time you go to the gym, you have like lots of energy instead of being hungry again.
In comparison, Mike's meal 1 is nothing. He goes to the gym fasted. And so I digress.
Is there any other supplements that you would particularly add at the beginning of your day that you've noticed have any benefits? Or
There's probably nothing in your life that like 2 Anadrol tabs can't fix.
And so his supplement of choice, Tristyn Lee, he goes for some creatine in the morning. Mike Israetel adds you could probably get some benefit from adding in a couple of tablets of Dianabol or Anadrol, which obviously would increase his gains, but I would suggest to Tristyn Lee, when he is off cycle, you know, not blasting steroids, not doing testosterone SARMs and so on, or peptides, to consider using Turk Builder Max. Hey, if you want to be natural and maximize your gains, the ultimate stack really is GO2 Max for improved cardio, improve your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, you burn more calories, have more energy, work out harder, as well as Turk Builder to increase aggression, train harder than last time, build more muscle, and take your physique to the next level. And if you're interested, code Greg for 15% off. And so what you'll notice is Mr. Mike chewing the entirety of this video. When you chew gum like this, your life, it's miserable. You live a miserable life. I can tell by the way he chews his gum that Mike hates himself. Now, if you don't want to hate your life, don't do things that lead you to needing to chew gum like this in order to get by in each and every day. You know, Mike is already on GLPs, perhaps it's terzepatide or Retta or both, but he's still starving out of his mind, and he's on a mission to prove to the world that he does deserve an IFBB Pro card. He wants to show us that he did in fact lose because of his tan, and after getting his fat cells sucked out and his skin cut off of his belly, that he will have everyone's dream physique.
50 grams of carbs and 25 grams of protein.
Wow, that's a good ratio. I think that's awesome.
And so he consumes 50 grams of carbs along with 25 grams of protein during his workout. So it's an intra-workout taken during his workout. For most people who go to the gym, this is completely useless. If you consume enough calories and your body fat is not excessively low, and by excessively low, I'm talking about single-digit body fat. Certainly if you're below 5, it's very, very low. You need the extra carbs because by the end of your workout, you're losing energy. You need the glucose, the glycogen stores. And so if you train for a long time, in particular harder than last time, at the start of your workout, you probably feel good, but by the end, you're starting to lack that energy. This is even more apparent when you're doing cardio. For example, if you're racing bikes, if you're racing for 2 hours and you don't consume anything, you might have felt amazing the first 45 minutes, but you're wondering, where did my energy leave after an hour and a half? And I can tell from experience, myself and Mepsagram were riding for 2 hours today. The first hour, 15 minutes, she was doing exceedingly well. She was hitting her numbers, heart rate was high, she felt amazing. Suddenly, she couldn't keep the pedals going. I'm like, what is going on? She's like, I'm just too tired. Suddenly, like that. What happened is she ran out of energy. She hadn't consumed enough carbs, and she had drained her battery source. And so, if you don't want this to happen, you can consume intra-workout carbs, but as I said, most people, you don't need to worry about this. You're not burning that many calories during your leg training session, chest, and so on, and so you don't worry about it. But if you're an endurance athlete, and of course, all endurance athletes, they're certainly using GO2 Max because they care about their health and their fitness. And they want to do the best as they can while they're riding on their bikes, running, and so on. And so these individuals who are doing extended bouts of cardio, especially beyond 90 minutes, you most certainly want to consume carbs intra-workout.
They actually have studies where people like swish around Gatorade and then spit it out, and it actually boosts endurance performance.
This is why science is bullshit, and why in 2026 we are going to call it out. Now, he's referencing a study that says if you swish something sweet in your mouth and spit it out, you're significantly going to improve your cardio, your performance, and so on. Does anyone believe that? You just taste something, spit it out, and it improves your cardio. I mean, I perhaps will try this with Mepsagram and say, hey, babe, come over here. Do that for a few minutes and squish it around and spit it out. Let's see if it improves your cardio. And let's say that it does. Could it be because of something else? And so, no, I'm not going to suggest that you all drink sweet things and spit it out to improve your cardio.
This meal is probably the worst bodybuilding meal I've ever seen in my entire life, which is frankly fucking embarrassing.
Oh, okay.
And so Mike thinks that it's a horrible meal because it only has 4 ounces of chicken, rice, and a banana. And so perhaps it's not high in fats, it's low in protein. But he does say, well, he consumed 25 grams of protein during his workout, so he doesn't need as much protein after, which is true. But it isn't the world's worst bodybuilding meal ever consumed. I believe that that goes to Mike Israetel having 4 pure protein bars and 5 slices of bread as a meal. Or could it be having cheesy puffs with a spoon from a bowl? Or perhaps it's cereal and Gatorade. I mean, take your pick. Mike's diet is the worst.
On to meal number 4, we've got 4 ounces of canned salmon. We've got 150 grams of asparagus cooked with a teaspoon or 7 grams of olive oil. And yes, we measure out the olive oil.
I mean, because it's so important that it's 7 grams of olive oil and not 8 and or 9 and or 10. I mean, this reminds me of a girl doing a bikini competition, and she said, can you check out my plan, you know, just to make sure that things are in order? And on the plan, one of the meals in particular, it stood out because it said 6 blueberries. And so I looked at her with despair. I said, 6 blueberries. Does your coach not know what he's doing? She's saying, well, what do you mean? I said, it doesn't list how many grams those 6 blueberries are. We don't know if they're wild blueberries. Are they farm blueberries? I mean, what if you consume 6 large-sized blueberries when he meant 6 small? And she was like, that's a good point. And I said, I'm joking. 6 blueberries. I mean, if you eat 5 blueberries or 13 or 28 blueberries, do you really think it's going to make a difference? Do you really think that your diet has to be so on point that you're counting the number of blueberries on your plate?
I've noticed that as I get leaner, I tend to lean towards the foods that are, anti-inflammatory. Or
as he gets leaner, he leans towards anti-inflammatory foods. As he's approaching leanness. When was he not lean? Has Tristyn Lee ever not been lean in his life? As of approaching leanness, anti-inflammatory foods. Says bro at 3.6% body fat.
I do like spreading my carbs out so that I have carbs in my last meal, just because I find that it does help my sleep a little bit more than having it in that midday meal.
It's interesting how Mr. Mike is just nodding his head. And I mean, frankly, he could have said anything, and whatever he's eating makes more sense than Mr. Mike. Now, in this particular meal, he's having a couple of zucchinis or cucumbers or whatever, hardly any carbs whatsoever, and some ground meat, perhaps some little bit of fats. There's no reason not to have carbs. Now, for Tristyn Lee, it works. But for most people, you don't have to say, I don't combine carbs with fats. I eat them at separate times. You're allowed to eat it all. And so, if you're asking me, Tristyn could add in some rice, some potatoes, some oatmeal, just carbs in general, more calories. There's no reason to avoid carbs in this meal and save them for later in the day before bed in the morning. You're allowed to eat carbs at every single meal.
Pre-bedtime meal. And so you've kind of run out of carbs already, and there's kind of no reason to include carbs.
But yet there is a reason to increase carbs at this meal. When your carbs have more glycogen, you will perform better in the gym. Not only in the gym, doing your cardio as well. Just think about it. When you work out in the morning, first thing, are you at your strongest? Are you performing the fastest on your bike? Or does it feel a little bit better after you've eaten perhaps 2 or 3 meals? I know for myself, if I do my cardio or lifting weights first thing in the morning, I'm significantly diminished. Sure, zone 2, no problem. If I'm doing a half-ass workout, by all means. But if you want to perform maximally, you want your glycogen stores to be more full. It's going to allow you to go harder than last time, longer than last time. Speaking of which, if you want to also be able to do that in the boudoir, harder than last time, you know what it's for.
Dates. I have weird food stuff. Some foods I like a lot, and some foods I irrationally hate. I can't fucking stand dates.
Of course, Mike can't stand dates. That's why he's single.
On vibes, this meal is like a C+.
And so his meal, he gets a C+. In comparison, Mr. Mike's meals is cheese puffs, eaten from a bowl with a spoon. There it is.
Is there anything that you would say you would improve upon my diet?
I mean, gee whiz, 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, is there any improvements you would make? I would say he would probably suggest to add in the cheesy puffs, probably the cereal and Gatorade. Certainly he should be eating more pure protein bars. And why not get a professional chef who cooks from my freaking cookbook? If you have the money, you hire the chef. She cooks your meals, and you eat healthier than last time. Your fridge is always full of healthy choices, and you don't go to Tim Hortons and grabbing bagels and donuts and so on. And it allows you to eat healthier than last time, which keeps you on point and makes just life easier. And so why not hire a chef? Click the link in the description if you want to know how to hire a chef. Click the link if you want to buy my cookbook, and click another link if you want my chef to cook from my cookbook and send you your meals.
If you are loaded to the gills with money, and you can afford to have folks make food like this for you daily, you're eating like a king. And if you can't afford that, then you're like me and you eat from the dumpster of the 7-Eleven.
So why can't Mike take his own advice? Does anyone think that Mike isn't actually a trillionaire? Maybe he's exaggerating about that. Maybe he's only a multimillionaire. Where's his butler? Where is his chef? Why is he eating cheese puffs and having 5 slices of bread, not even warmed up, nothing, just sitting there? And that's the best he could come up with for his diet. But yet people flock to Renaissance Periodation because they think it's going to help them to diet better than last time. Mike doesn't know how to diet. Because he doesn't know how to diet, he had to get his fat cells sucked out by a friggin' surgeon. And the evidence is clearly in his video. You think I'm making this shit up? Oh, Greg's just making shit up that Mike eats cheesy puffs and 5 slices of bread, 4 pure protein. But there's no way he would do that. I mean, at least Mike could eat a Kaiko bar that has structural integrity. Remember he made that video? Structural integrity.
The Kaiko bar from HTLT.
Macros, 6 fat, 33 carb, 20 protein.
Not bad, great macros. It definitely has structural integrity. Thank you, Greg.
And if you don't have millions of dollars like Mr. Mike, you can use code KICO, C-I-C-O, for 50% off, making it only $20 for 12 protein bars, 230 calories, 21 grams of protein. You can't get any better. Click the link, buy shit. Click another link, get coached by Coach Greg. Click another link and apply to be a sponsored athlete, and another link to sell my shit in your stores and or gym. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algo. Don't forget to make fun of Enrique in the comment section. Watch one of those 2 bloops, and until next time, I am out.